This is Tales from Under the Wheel of Power and Control. I am telling stories from my personal experiences in an abusive relationship I lived in for 9 years. And some of them are shocking, some are horrifying, some are entertaining, some are stories of how I overcame or escaped from this man. Some are stories of how I fell into that relationship in the first place. But the one thing that is most important is the fact that I kept it a secret for 9 years, that I walked through life with my closest friends, my family. I was a leader in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. I was a member of my church and a leader there. I was involved in my kids' schools. They had friends. I gave parties. And the whole time I was hiding this fact. I think it's important that I come forward and tell my stories. I have selfish reasons, of course. A lot of relationships I have been damaged by the fact that my family and friends misinterpreted, don't understand what anything about abusive relationships. I really want them to understand me. But also, I want to help women. There's women that are in abusive relationships and don't even realize it. I didn't realize it. I called the police 9 times on my husband over the course of those 9 years. And in the early visits, I asked for help. I asked to try to get him out of the house. They would ask me, "Are you in an abusive relationship?" And I would say no, because he had never hit me. He terrorized us. He threatened to kill us. He secretly threatened to kill us. He implied it. He didn't say it outright. He tortured me. He drugged me. There were so many things that happened, and yet he never hit me. So I thought he didn't abuse me, trapped me. He spied on me. He stole from me. I can go on and on. Of course, that's what I'm going to do. And I hesitated to tell my stories because I've overcome a lot. And looking back, I might laugh when I tell you he tried to kill me. People will think either I'm lying or that I don't respect the situation enough or that I'm exaggerating it, you know. There's so many reasons I thought maybe I shouldn't tell my story. I should be over it, so people are going to think I'm dwelling on it or trying to capitalize on it. It's embarrassing. I've been out of this relationship for 6 years. I only recently was able to finally admit to myself the most embarrassing fact, which is that I was in love with the man before he became abusive. And even after, when I thought he was just, flawed or fixable or something, I didn't understand what I was dealing with. He was also a drunk, and I thought it was just alcoholism, and I wasn't sure how to deal with that. I'd never been exposed to it. So I thought if he would just sober up, everything would be fine. Of course, later on, I knew I had to get out, and I couldn't because he had control over my finances. He had control over my life, basically. He was a hacker. He told me he was a hacker with the CIA. He was a very good hacker. And we lived a life as if I was evading. It was like I was a spy. I would hide things from him. I would sneak around. There was spyware. There was cameras. He would track my movements. I had to lie about everything to him in the end. And I used to never lie. And some of the main reasons I kept it a secret are that I couldn't do anything about it. I was trapped. So if I told people, which I did, about my situation, people, I'm thinking of a particular person, a relative that I opened up to and told them I was in an abusive relationship, and they just kept telling me to leave him. They didn't understand the complexities of what would have happened to me if I left him. People who are in an abusive relationship are in much more danger after they leave their spouse than when they are in the relationship. It's sort of that situation of, it's like Lao Tzu's Art of War when he says, I think that's where it's from, where it says, keep your enemies closer, But I was well educated. I had a degree. I was successful. I was a mother. I was a wealthy woman. I was multimillionaire. If it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. I was close to my family. I had a lot of friends. I was part of support groups. I had a therapist, and I asked for help. And just every twist and turn of the whole situation worked against me. The person I was involved with was an expert in manipulation and had done it before. And I was not an expert with dealing with somebody attempting to manipulate me or steal my assets. I just thought that there were no bad people in the world. I thought there were misunderstood people in the world. Little did I know there's evil people in the world. So I learned that. But I was not an idiot. I was not lacking in resources, and still, and I got trapped. So if that could happen to me, I want all the women out there who are in these trapped relationships to know I don't think it's your fault. I think it's these people are very, very good at it, and society is not that good at it, at recognizing it or helping people with it, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. So I have a lot of incredible stories, and I say the word incredible because I think a lot of people found them hard to believe. Horror stories, fairy tales, like the Prince Charming turning into the beast or living with the ogre above your heads. We would sneak around and have code words and secret signals that we would do. Never knock on the front door when he's up there, because he'll wake up, I have multiple stories about him trying to murder me and me figuring it out and escaping or avoiding it. And I have stories about how low I sunk in the end to want to protect my children from him after I left him. I have stories about how I just sunk into the depths of I didn't hate him when I left him. I felt sorry for him. I felt pity for him. I thought, this poor guy, he's such an idiot. He blew it. He had a great family, and he just, like an idiot, he just threw it away. And I thought he would become a drunk in the gutter, honestly, or a homeless person, which he might be right now. But my therapist tried to get me in touch with my anger, and she was right too. And I didn't get angry with him. I didn't want to kill him. She kept saying, don't you want to imagine trying to kill him? And I said, no, I just feel sorry for the guy. And I think she was trying to get me to the point where I could acknowledge feelings that she thought I had. But when my children were in danger because he was trying to kill us all, before the divorce was final, if I had died, he would have inherited everything. So I think that's what he was thinking. I don't know if he would have, but I think he was trying to kill me. I found multiple evidence of that, but I could not get him convicted on the evidence that I found. But when I knew he was coming after me, he left signals to us to make it clear to us that he was coming in our house, that he was messing with us. When I knew my children were in danger, I planned the perfect murder to get rid of him. And I'll tell the story of that as well. And a lot of stories are just really embarrassing, really kind of hard for me to talk about, because I think they're going to make people think, I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to tell everything because, it's not that I did these embarrassing things. It's he embarrassed himself, and I will just tell the facts. I didn't do anything wrong. I really didn't. So I think it's important that I acknowledge the fact that these things happened and, accept the fact that I didn't do anything wrong. And some stories are going to be really embarrassing because the things he did were... I'm not embarrassed by my own behavior. I'm embarrassed for him. The things he did, just... There's gross, disgusting, horrible, and embarrassing things that I'm embarrassed by because of his behavior. Okay, who is this series for? So it is for me. It is for me to clarify to my friends and family, if they dare to listen, the people I've lost. It's for people... I'll tell you who it's for. I wrote this down. It's for women who don't know they're being abused, because if someone sees a title that they recognize that behavior, maybe they will catch on that they're being abused by hearing my story. It's also for women who know they're being abused, but they can't go to a support group. A lot of women are trapped in their homes and can't get out to seek any resources, can't even Google stuff without their husbands finding out. So I don't know if they'll come across this, but it is for them to feel like they're not alone. A support group really helped me to recognize that I was being abused, and the wheel of power and control that I was exposed to during support group. I'll put it up, but the wheel of power and control is what I'm going to be using as a guideline for what subjects I'm going to be talking about and exemplifying by what I had in my relationship. This series is for men who are being abused by women. I hope they forgive me for using the pronouns I use, but in my experience, it was a woman being abused by a man. But there are men in the same situation being abused by women, and then many times the women will accuse the man of abuse as an additional means of power over them. This series is for sister-in-laws of people who keep telling their sister-in-law to leave the relationship and get frustrated and get fed up and decide they don't want anything more to do with their sister-in-law because she won't take their advice. This series is for brothers who don't believe that their sister was really abused, because if she had been abused, why didn't she leave him 9 years ago? That doesn't make any sense. No normal person would stay in that kind of relationship. It doesn't make any sense. That's not what I would do. I want people like that to understand why a sister might stay in a relationship like that. This series is for mothers who stand by and listen to the stories of their daughters and can't do anything about it, don't know what to do, don't know what to say. I don't really have the answers, but I think it would be helpful for them to hear my story and know that people can get out of it, that there is a pattern, and that just listening is being helpful. This series is for little 7-year-old sons who stand up for their mom and try to talk to the abuser and tell him he's being bad, and then they get punished for it, and then they learn that they're not able to deal with terrorists. You can't negotiate with a terrorist. And I want little children like that, even if they've grown up, to understand that their mother, maybe she was trying to keep the peace by siding with the bad guy, I want them to understand that their mom loved them and tried her best. This series is for little 5-year-old daughters who are hiding under their bed, hearing their mom argue with this monstrous guy, and who grow up to be like 20-year-olds who are still having nightmares about it. This series is for people who have gotten out of an abusive relationship. Maybe they've been out for 5 or 6 years, and they're trying to express their stories with writing or telling it on YouTube or telling their friends about it. And maybe they've got writer's block because they are afraid of all those things I mentioned in the beginning. Maybe they still have PTSD. Maybe they are afraid their ex is going to retaliate and come after them and they've finally gotten rid of him. Or maybe they think that no one cares to hear a story about that. You know, I actually was writing a screenplay about this, and one of my friends who used to be a literary agent said, nobody wants to hear a story about that. And then I found this YouTuber who's pretty good telling her story about an abusive relationship she was in. And she said, nobody wants to hear it. Well, I actually think it should still be told. And finally, this series is for all the people who absolutely have no contact with anyone who's in an abusive relationship, have no interest in it, think it's crazy, and think it'll never come to their lives, because I think they should know what to look for or what it's like, or try to prevent it in their lives. Or maybe they need to know that there's a few people around them that are in these relationships and they don't even realize it. And I just think people that think it's not around should be educated as well. So I'm going to have multiple stories. This is the introduction, and I hope I tell it in a way that doesn't shock you, but that you understand is honest. And I hope it's useful to someone. Thanks.